Hi everyone. Welcome to this session on user journey, app events, and APM capabilities in HCL Volt MX. Understanding how users interact with your application is critical to delivering a seamless and enjoyable experience. Application performance monitoring is the ability to check and track the performance of an application. Volt MX allows you to monitor the performance of the app and see the journey of various users using the app. Here's what we'll cover in this session: user journey and app performance monitoring overview. Understand the standard and custom events you can track to capture user actions effectively. Dive into detailed reports to analyze event activity and extract meaningful patterns. We'll also explore what app crash breadcrumbs are and how to ensure your analytics implementation aligns with data protection regulations. So let's get started.
So why do we care about user journey and performance issues? Because performance issues often impact the end users. It could be like a transaction failure when somebody is trying to buy, a network error, application crashing because of unhandled exceptions in the code, or the application performance being slow in general, right? So all of these are problems that nag us and that really impact the end user's experience of the app, right? So why should we care about, the application performance monitoring, so to speak? From the perspective of the customer experience, we want to improve it so that we can provide a real-time view of the application performance. We want to accelerate the time to market and ensure that the business is able to respond to the features and stuff in the market. And we want to drive innovation and deliver functionality that can be measured, adjusted, and tracked for its business impact. You can see how it is being used, how long people are staying on a form, where they're running into issues. If the application is crashing, where is it crashing? What was the user journey that led to that, right? So to help with all this, we built automatic event capture. So from the application developer perspective, automatic event capture is as easy as just clicking a checkbox. They can turn it on and then click boxes on what other events they want to capture, including crashes and events. Not all event types are surfaced from the UI. The APM user guide goes into more events that can be turned on or off programmatically at runtime. The reason we do not want to enable all of this right from here is we wanted people to be sure that they want that level of granularity to be captured, and too many events can kind of mask the issue as well and create an overload. So we wanted it to be set by a developer who knows what they are doing, so to speak. So from the perspective of APM, we have APIs for setting the user ID to know which user is undergoing it. We will cover in the GDPR section later as to how for privacy this can be anonymized. So even if you are capturing it from the data perspective, that can be anonymized so that we do not know the actual end user, but just know that user A, for example, underwent this journey, right? You can dynamically modify what types of events are captured while the app is running. On the right, you can see the event types. So form entry, form exit, that is when somebody enters a form, when somebody exited a form, when somebody touched something, gesture like a double tap or a long tap or a swipe, orientation with the change the phone from portrait to landscape, service request when a call was made, or when a call responded back, or if there was an error in the application. Handled exception is for scenarios where the application developer already has written code for handling it. So that is why it is not automatically captured. The application developer has to notify that an exception was handled and call the event. Application crashes when the application could not even the global error handler that the platform had could not catch it, then the application can go into a crash. When the global error handler was able to catch it, it will go into an error. How long it took to load the application transition, like when the user got a call or went to another app, so the app went to the background and then came back to the foreground, even those things are all captured. And custom, so basically you can also send custom events. So if you wanted to let the tracking know basically that the user logged in, because login as far as the platform is concerned, a service. So if you want to specifically say that, hey, user made this event or went to this particular flow of capturing, I don't know, something like a check deposit or something, any logic that is specific to the application, you have the ability to send them also as custom events so that can be tracked. And the APIs are there so that you can, at different times of using the app, increase or decrease the granularity. For example, by default, I might want to only capture form entry and error and crashes. I can always keep it on, but application load. But when I'm in a critical flow, a new flow that I've added into the application, I probably want to know more details. I might want to know what type of gesture they are doing, or whether they are, changing the orientation of the phone, or more details. So I can choose to go more granularity at runtime dynamically and change it. By default, we are not going to make a call for every event that is captured. The data goes into a buffer, and the buffer length, when it is reached, for example, if the default is like 15 events, after 15 events, the data will be flushed automatically from the application to the backend. Now, after say I've just gone through a purchase, right, or critical functionality in the application, I can choose to flush that event right then and there using an API call, so that the data is immediately sent. Programmatically, you can manage what is the buffer length, and if after the buffer length is reached, so for example 15, if the network, it will try to make a call but the device is off network, so it could not send it, it will continue to cache the data on the client so that the data is never lost. But devices have a limit. If it is a completely offline application, and if there are thousands of events, it might impact performance. So for that reason, there is a limit that you can configure as to what is the maximum number of events that can be stored in the device as well. And a lot of components can be reused across different places. You can set tags to know in which scenario this component is now being used. For example, a bill pay versus a purchase, you can differentiate them. And so all of these functionality and fine tuning is available as part of the APIs, and collecting it by default is available with just a checkbox. More details are there in the documentation, which you can read. So for example, if I want to see how many people for a specific app tried to load it, or app transition is trying to say that the app went from foreground to background or such, how many people entered a form, service request, gestures like they did a long tap or a double tap or a swipe, if there was an exception, crash, or custom events, they can be all seen. You can just group the events by sessions to see how many different sessions a particular type of event happened, or how many different devices happened for that, or how many different users used it, right? And you can aggregate this data again by day, week, month, so to speak. Right? One environment, of course, I can add more conditions also. I can add more events, or a widget ID if I want to track it, or a specific form ID. If there is a user ID or a device model, I can club multiple of them, join them with AND, or group multiple conditions and run all of this as one report. So there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to running reports and what you're trying to see. So now the data is far lesser, so you can see particular form has been entered so many times and such, right? Now that we have seen the events that can be captured out of the box, let's look at one of the reports that can help you troubleshoot application crashes better. So this was one of the reports that is there in the out-of-the-box standard reports called as app crash breadcrumbs. Whenever there is a crash, it captures that, and it captures the 5 or 10 events that it can capture before that, so that you can trace the user's journey that resulted in the crash. So the user might have made a service call, entered a form, touched some button, or there might have been an error, and that error might not have been caught and might have led to an error, led to a crash. So this way you can see the exact sequence of events that were done, what was the timestamp, what was the event, and more details about it, what form they were in, eventually leading to the crash. This lets the app developer look at it and trace the journey, and then troubleshoot and resolve the issue better. One other aspect that we have been talking about is because we are tracing the user journey, you might, depending on which region you are, you might want to ensure that the data like the IP address or the username even is not stored in the metrics database. So for that, you can just click this checkbox called as PII. What it will do is it will ensure that whenever the metrics payload is reaching, it will anonymize it and protect the data so that the actual data is never stored about the IP address or the username.
So far, We discussed the various event types that can be tracked, including standard application events and custom events. We also explored event activity report to analyze patterns and gain deeper insights into user behavior, and app crash breadcrumbs report showcasing the most recent events preceding a crash to help identify and resolve issues. By leveraging these, you can significantly improve your application's performance and user experience while ensuring that your data remains secure. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found this session insightful. Be sure to explore the rest of Volt Foundry Analytics features through our other videos. For more resources, simply scan the QR code on the screen and don't forget to check the description box for additional details.